Hello, 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 and welcome back for another episode of the Corona Spotlight 2020. I am your host, Gayle Nicholson, and I am so glad to see you again this Monday morning. We are into May. Oh my gosh. And the coronavirus quarantine continues. So we are continuing to interview people who are helping others through this very stressful, chaotic, and confusing time. Whether it is people who have been doing business online for a while that know what needs to be done and can help you do it, or people like my energetic coach friends that are helping people deal with the stress, the anxiety, the close quarters with people that we love but sometimes don't really like. So, along those lines, I'd love to introduce you to my guest for today. She comes to us from Guelph, Canada. Guelph, Ontario, Canada, excuse me. No, not Guelph. Where are you from?
Whitehorse, Yukon.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. We've got somebody else coming next week from Guelph. I crossed the streams. My bad. I am so sorry. This is Michelle Evans, intuitive energy healer with RockSolidLove.ca. Thank you so much for being with me today, Michelle.
Oh, thanks for having me, Gail.
Oh my God, I feel like such an idiot. I'm so sorry. And I was like three times when we were chatting beforehand, I was like, ask her, ask her, ask her. No. Okay. Now, so
No, no, you
today,
got you got Canada right. Like that's a score. Lots of people get that one wrong. So.
I will be honest, as familiar as I am with Canada, and even having lived there for 7 years, I had to fix your URL a number of times because muscle memory says .com, not .ca. So let's start with that though. Give me the story behind what your URL is, rocksolidlove.ca. Where did that come from?
Rock Solid Love is a combination of a lot of things because I am an energy healer. I do a lot of work with crystals. So that plays in there as well as the energy of unconditional love that is unmistakable and unwavering,
That's beautiful.
that we are born to give and to receive, that that is that is our job here. So being able to rediscover, because I don't believe in having to find it, it's always been there,
Hmm.
you've simply forgotten, because the world does that to us. So remembering and reconnecting with that unwavering love that is within all of us.
That is beautiful. I love that.
And .ca because I'm Canadian, right? So
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Right? It's
yeah.
I wanna just kind of pull out of something that you just said that I find very insightful and very like across the board, universally true. And that is that as many times as like you may talk to a group or I may listen to another speaker or whatever, don't you find that you're never actually listening to anything new? You're being reminded of stuff that you forgot or maybe never knew that you knew.
Oh, absolutely. And it's I also find oftentimes because we don't hear anything really new, but we don't hear something until we hear it,
Hmm. Yeah, like it
right?
doesn't
Like you might
actually.
hear the same phrase a million times, but it doesn't, like, you don't do the oh until you're in the moment
Yeah.
that it actually hits,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't get it until you get it.
Exactly.
That it's like,
Exactly.
oh, wait a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the message is wrapped in a box on the doorstep, and it's not until the door opens that you can actually receive what's in the box.
Yeah.
That's a bad way of saying it, but you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
now,
I do. Absolutely.
now in this, now I From over here, I totally get it. I mean, you might be able to see behind me, but that display is all different crystals and rocks, and and then I've got my little thing over here as well. And I've been friends with rocks for a long time. um, but I can see easily that with like who you are, where you come from with the rock solid love and the rocks and the unconditional love, all of that. I can see where that would automatically lead someone into doing trauma recovery work with others, right? Because that just seems like, in my experience, a natural progression of things. But tell me how you came into doing trauma recovery work. How did that unfold for you?
Um, I I'm sure you know the story, and most people have heard the story of the wounded healer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's my story, and that's something I'm really passionate about. So we're gonna get some emotion come up.
That's okay.
Um, it started with healing my own trauma, right? My father is still to this day an active heroin addict and was extremely abusive as a child. So all of my internal stories created from that, along with all the lovely external stories from society, left me broken. And for a lot of years, I like to say I hid my trauma so deep, I didn't even know it was there.
Gotcha.
Because I did my best to be super mom. I worked, I did all of those external things that you were supposed to do in order to be successful and whole and complete. And it didn't freaking work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was left one day with the realization that I had no idea who I was. I projected confidence and all of those things every time I was out of my house, but within myself, I had none. So my journey was that thinking and doing everything hadn't actually healed anything within me.
Mm-hmm.
So now what are the possibilities?
Right.
And that led me to rediscover my innate intuitive ability and led me to training in a ton of different energy healing modalities, crystals being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And through that process, I could heal the things within myself, which, much pleasantly to my surprise,
Mm-hmm.
also projected outwards and created a ripple effect that I could not have even fathomed possible, which then opened the door to, if I have all the training and all the tools and I can get this far, I can then help other people
Right.
get that far as well.
It almost becomes a responsibility at that point, doesn't it?
It does. And I love now the phrase, like, when you heal yourself, you heal the world.
Right.
Because when your energy changes and your ability changes, it gives other people permission to do the same.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. Well, do you find that people, when they find out that you are an energetic healer, that they are, oh my gosh, yeah, I've got this you could work with, this you could work with, all of the, like, I need your help? Or are they like, oh, that's interesting, and kind of reticent to ask for help? What do you
I,
think?
I get a mix of both.
Mm-hmm.
It generally starts with intrigue, like, how does that work? Tell me more. Or there's the other side of the coin, and like, oh, like, that's out there. You're a weirdo. I'm not even going to talk to you about anything.
Yeah.
But I'm going to watch you from afar because I don't really know how this works either. So
Right. I want to be interested, but I don't want anybody to know I'm interested because, yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So, but when they do find the courage to ask for help, what then? What's next?
What's next is all for me personally is always a phone call, because my core belief is that in order to truly benefit, you need to have trust and connection. And that needs to be present on both sides. So I always do a free call just for us both to be able to gauge whether or not those things are present. If you can't trust me, then you're not going to feel safe enough to open up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we need to go. We need to dive into the darkness in order to find the light.
Yeah.
And I need to trust that you're willing to do that, because I don't want to waste anybody's time or money. Mm-hmm. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That makes absolute sense. And you don't want to leave people like in the middle of it, wide open.
Yeah, no.
There's got to be the commitment to walk all the way through a path through hell, if that makes sense. Yeah. Awesome. So how are you different from other coaches other than the fact that you play with rocks and energy?
Well, that's part of what makes me different from other coaches. Let's be honest. So there's a couple things that make me different from most other coaches. Is number one, I am highly intuitive. So I can see what is behind, mm-hmm. and I can laser in really quick. Like we can work through a lot of stuff really fast because I see beyond the haze. Mm-hmm. I know where you need to go, so then I can lead you there faster.
Nice.
The other thing that makes me different from a lot of spiritual coaches too is that prior to doing this, I was a financial analyst for the government.
Okay.
I have a highly analytical, skeptical brain that I had going into this work. So it allows me to teach in a way where we cross over both sides of the brain. Nice. So that analytical piece is satisfied as we build the energetic spiritual piece.
Nice. That's very interesting, and I want to pull that apart a little bit because you are the second guest that I have had on this show that was a financial analyst before they became a soul or spirit or energy-based coach. And I find that absolutely phenomenally mind-blowing because my story is engineers, analysts, they're just way too rigid to embrace the, well, maybe, and let's follow this wave, and, kind of pathways that the energetics can go. So I find that fascinating, that I am utterly so wrong about that. But yeah, like you left brain people can get this stuff after all. I know that sounds horrible the way I just put that, but you know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think part of it for me personally, like I don't know about your other guests, but part of it is that remembering. Because when I was born, when I was little, mm-hmm. I was intuitive. That's a gift that I was born with. Mm-hmm. And through my life experiences, I had to seize control mm-hmm. of what was happening around me, hence massively firing that analytical side of the brain.
Nice.
Right? So when I remember mm-hmm. what was before, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that it's interesting and leads another level of depth to this theory that I have about the people who have grown up in chronically abusive environments. you with your father being a heroin addict, mine with my father being an alcoholic and a pedophile, and all of the other chaos surrounding him, we become empathic, right? Not just that we have empathy, right? But it becomes a radar like superpower of empathic, where I am literally picking up how you're feeling so that I can determine how I need to be to survive this situation, right? And
Yeah.
so, what are your thoughts about what that is? Because I know we all do have intuition, we all do have empathy, we all have these base level of all of these powers, right? And then depending on our experiences, which ones get developed, which ones, become withered or unused or unexercised. So, what are your thoughts about that?
I think that's a really interesting point, is that we become so empathic in order to know how to survive a situation. Then the risk in that, because I believe in the paradox. So as much as it's a gift, it can also feel like a curse sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So the risk that we run in that, especially as heart-centered women that want to help everybody,
Mm-hmm.
is we run the risk of feeling other people's feelings for them instead of with them. And it took me a long time to learn that distinction.
Mm.
And it's one of the things that allows me to go so deep with my clients and have it feel really safe. And we don't replay the trauma, but we visit it in order to find the light in there.
Right.
And it's because I can literally feel with them.
No.
I no longer feel for them.
Yeah. I imagine there was a learning curve there as you discovered that that's what you were doing, and then how to do something different that's more helpful.
Yeah, it requires putting a lot of my tools to use, for sure. to be able to establish that connection, and then also to be able to let it go. Right.
Awesome.
But
yeah.
it is the difference between like wanting to fix people. That did not work very well in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I will heal you versus I will help you heal yourself.
Right.
Big Two very different things. My life relationships are way different now.
That's growth. That's a good thing.
and I do believe every single one of us is intuitive. Like, we are born with that connection. Mm-hmm. And then something happens in life that tells you it's not safe. So you turn the volume down. Mm-hmm. So I work a lot with my clients on turning that volume back up and building what I call the trust muscle, right? So that you're not stuck second guessing yourself all the time.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun experience in my own growth and progression through recovery. That phase of learning how to trust your intuition and shifting from that, I knew I should have listened to myself, damn it, to, all right, well, this is weird, but this is what I'm getting, so I'm going to try doing this. Hey, it worked out. How the heck did that happen? Yeah, that was an adventure. Was that, that's a dumb question. Was that adventurous for you too? What were some of the things, do you remember any of the things that you were like, oh wow, this worked?
Everything in my life. Like, even looking back on my life, I'm like, holy crap, like how did that happen? Like, that wasn't actually me. Yeah. and the more clients that I worked with, mm-hmm. the more people I worked with, the more my trust muscles built as well. Because especially when I'm working with other people, I'd be like, you want me to say what? Like, I don't even know if this is true. Like, I don't know what. And the more that words just came out of my mouth and somebody was like, oh my God, how did you know? I'm like, yeah. Okay, that's how I knew. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's relevant. Yeah. But in the beginning, I censored a lot of stuff that I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to make sense. I don't know if that's true. I don't like, yeah.
Yeah.
And now we just roll with it,
Yeah.
and it
Now
goes
it's like,
exactly where it needs to go.
yeah. Now
Yeah.
it gets to that level where it's unsurprising and almost annoying for
Yeah.
me. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, getting back to the actual conversation of the day. What um, things are getting, people are getting to the point now, especially I think with the spring weather hitting the northern climates, and that our bodies are like, throw the windows open, breathe in the fresh air, let's get out in the sunshine, right? And the news is going, yeah, no, right? Shelter in place, stay where you're at. If you must go out, put a mask on your face, and whatever the rules are locally where you're at. Um, so they're getting to a certain level where the stress has become quieter, more intense. The overwhelm is getting to unmanageable levels. I mean, just in North America, as society as a whole, I feel we have this certain tolerance of anxiety that resides right about eye level, right? And when little things spike it, you're underwater real fast, right? And I think we've been operating probably about eyebrow level for the last 2 months, and that much closer to being underwater, emotionally speaking. So, what simple things can people do right now to overcome that stress and overwhelm? Do you have anything that you can suggest?
Yeah. And I just want to add on that for a second too, in that part of, I think, the anxiety and the depression is this prolonged experience. And it's also a reoccurrence of a survival mechanism. So I have a lot of clients right now that have done a ton of work, and their anxiety and that tendency to depression, they've had that under control
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, and all of a sudden it's back now. So I want to just briefly address that it's not because you haven't done the work. It is because this is a literal fight or flight survival mechanism. And where we are right now, that tool that has kept you alive, as much as you might not like it, it's still a tool that has kept you alive, is coming back to try and do the same thing now.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens for a lot of people, I find, even whose life hasn't changed a whole lot. Do like people that have been working at home and nothing has really changed for them, they're still experiencing that because of the collective energy of where we are. So
And
as
I must.
easy as it sounds,
Mm-hmm.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you're absolutely right. I amplify that 100% because I'm dealing with that myself. Um, and just and it's not. I don't want to use the word triggering, right? Because it's not triggered. It's it's a skill or a tool that's being is rising up to be used, right? Um,
Yeah.
and we do have a tendency to go, but that's a bad thing. Well, no, not necessarily. You know, um, it's a tool that will help you get to another space where you can heal. It's kind of like when you bite it in the gravel and you have all these little rocks in your skin, right? And you have to debride the injury to get all that little gravel out, or it won't heal right at all, right? And it's that wire brush that can be so painful at the time, but if you don't do it, the healing later on is full of pits and bumps and ulcers that don't heal properly because there's still stuff in there festering. So, with that said, please continue.
Yeah. And so number one is to recognize that it is a tool that was developed to protect you. It's not coming to drag you under. It is actually coming because it loves and wants to protect you. So that recognition in itself is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to say, even having a conversation, like, I see you and I thank you for loving me. Right. And this is what it was like then. This is what it's like now.
Mm-hmm.
Even that acknowledgement will help shift that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, as easy as it sounds, as simple as it sounds, doesn't mean it's easy, is to remember to breathe. It is something that we take for granted all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in that space of overwhelm and inability to focus, to draw your awareness to the breath and really pay attention to the inhale and the exhale, even 3 times, is going to instantly change your state.
Mm-hmm. And physiology. Mm-hmm. That's excellent advice. Even as you were talking, I realized how shallowly I was breathing, like down to about here, and just placing my awareness on, oh, wow, yeah, just breathe all the way, filling the lungs all the way, 3 times in a row. Just, it does. It literally
Just,
puts you in a different physiological state.
well, and part of it is bringing your awareness back to this moment
Mm-hmm.
in the breath, because overwhelm and anxiety actually live in the future. You're projecting on what you need to do, what has to be done, what if, all of those things that are actually in the future.
Right.
And bringing your awareness back to the breath brings all of your energy back to this moment. And
Beautiful.
that's part of why you feel so much more calm and relaxed, is because you're actually fully back here.
Yeah, in the present. And I was talking with someone else the other day that has a new perspective to me on the trauma that occurs in the past. And basically, I'm paraphrasing, I'm probably going to butcher exactly how beautifully he said it. But it was at that moment in time, with that breath of a snapshot was taken and a piece of your soul stays there. And when we're in the present, being triggered by the thoughts that are back there, it's because a part of ourself literally was left behind, and it would work for us to go in and bring that part of us back to the present time and reintegrate. Now, his techniques are what help that reintegration, but the the point of what I'm trying to say with it is that it made a lot of sense for me that during that moment in time, my being broke off a little piece to manage that, and it continues to manage that, and it's not in the present with me. So whenever I get pulled to that piece, the point is to pull it back to present. Does that ring authentic for you as well?
It does. I would probably phrase things a little bit differently,
Mm-hmm.
but along the same line. So we're never saying anything new. For for me, I like to say every limit that you hold in your mind stems from a trauma in your energy field,
Nice.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So lots of people talk about triggers. I talk about hitting that invisible bruise,
Okay.
right? And and it does, and it makes sense on a lot of levels. I've seen a lot of people who get stuck in the victim piece,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really scary to let that go, because part of, along that same line, part of their identity
Mm-hmm.
has now been wrapped up in this is who I am.
Yeah.
So if you let that go and you heal that, who are you now?
Right.
Which is part of why it seems really daunting for a lot of people,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And I
And
imagine for a lot of people as well, the other thoughts that occur in your head when you're still bound in victim mode or trauma mode, right? Don't necessarily lead you to believe that you're going to be a great person without this piece. You
yeah,
know?
well, because that's part of what defines you.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know and you don't trust that you're actually going to be okay without it.
Hmm.
You know? Yeah.
And it's one thing to like know that and to hear it. Oh, healing is a good thing. Blah blah. It's another thing to actually feel it and be willing to explore the possibility.
Right. Right.
Right. So for me, I do not believe in going back and reliving your trauma in order to heal it. Knowing exactly what injuries I incurred every time my father beat me is not going to help me.
Right.
I don't like, we do not revisit the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
One, one of my beliefs is it's not the details of the experience that matter, it's the story created from the experience that matters.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we don't go into the details, we dive into the story.
Nice. Nice. That I think that anybody who comes to you for help and assistance in recovering is in good hands. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Now, tell me a little bit about this fun thing, the animal messages that you also do. What is that?
Well, that's actually a free meditation that I have up on my website, and
Mm-hmm.
it runs the vein of we are all intuitive. Like you have the answers within you if only you take the time to listen. And society has taught us to be busy and all the things that detract from taking the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that meditation is specifically designed to take you into your own experience, access that inner wisdom, and receive the message that you need today.
Phenomenal. Awesome. And now that can be found right on your website, right? RockSolidLove.ca.
Correct. Yeah, it's right on the homepage.
Okay.
Free, download it, have fun. It was a
Yeah.
lot of fun to make. It is a super relaxing journey into yourself. And that's, I think that's the best part for me is that you can do it every day
Mm-hmm.
and get something different every day
Oh,
because
phenomenal.
it is designed to lead you into your experience, not me telling you my experience.
Beautiful. I love it. Now, and then you've got
Yeah.
something else as well for our audience today that you're offering to them. The Reconnect Inner Circle membership. Tell me more.
Ooh. It, it's one of my favorites. It is really working with me in a group situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a couple of programs and I have it started from private clients and my group program clients that wanted to continue calls and wanted to continue learning. So it is an incredible community of heart-based women
Mm-hmm.
that have, just like me, just like you, have the tendency to sacrifice ourselves in order to help everyone else. So need a little accountability, need to be reminded of the tools that they have and learn some new ones in order to reconnect with that, reconnect with their intuition, their energetic prowess, because we have an amazing ability to control energy if only we remembered,
Mm-hmm.
and really rediscover who they are. And it is just a beautiful community that you get to give the support that you so want to give.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to practice receiving because that's something that, because we're so focused on giving, we
Yeah.
generally don't receive very well.
Yeah.
So building all of those muscles, right? Building
Yep.
the trust muscles in yourself, in your spiritual support team, all those things.
Excellent. Excellent. All righty. Well, the time has absolutely flown today. Do you have any final thoughts for our audience?
The biggest thing for anybody to know, no matter where you are, is that you are never alone and you are always loved.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being here today and for doing what you do for the world. I appreciate you and I honor you.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
All right, Facebook, have a just fabulous, fabulous week ahead. We'll see you again real soon. When you open yourself up to actual energy work, makes that recovery progress so much faster. That recovery is possible. You do not have to live as a victim until your last days. You have unbelievable strength, and I know that because you're still here. Do you want to create something completely unrecognizable with your life? I can show you how.